All right, welcome to Stampscaping 101. Doing a pre-recorded piece here because I'm going to get up and go spray seal and use some spray adhesive during the creation of this card. So we're just going to do it pre-recorded. Okay, we're going to do a reflection card here. And I have the stamps out that I did my little baby sea turtles piece with, but I thought it might be kind of interesting to have them kind of going out into this really reflective body of water right here, and I would use one of my new Mystic Tree elements for the top element up here on the horizon. I don't know, this is going to be like a small body of water right here, like I don't know, like a billabong or something like that before the open ocean. But I'd have a moon right here, and we'll see what else we have space for. Okay, I'm just kind of winging it here and seeing what comes about from this piece. And let's see, I didn't even think about colors here, but let's go with some blue tones, okay? And I'll go with a really dark blue here on the Erie Moon. I haven't used glossy cardstocks in a while, as much as I normally used to. So I thought I would do some of that here and make it nice and vibrant and reflective and shiny to reflect down in this lower section, well, lower section over here, that will be the reflective body of water, okay? Now, let's see. I need to decide if I'm going to use some clouds. Let's go ahead and use a cloud formation. Let's see, I know I had one around here somewhere. Let's go ahead and use the cloud cumulus. Boy, there's a lot of lint around here for some reason. And we're just going to use this to surround this moon, and we'll have some of the moonlight reflecting off of the clouds. All right. I have a lot of instructional videos on how to use this cloud so you don't get a bunch of rectangle looking shapes and, just you don't have to do any masking with it. You can mask, your additional cloud impressions when using it, but you just don't need to, okay? Now, let's really bring out a lot of the contrast with this source of light here. And then some of these clouds around here will be reflecting that moonlight, so I'm going to retain some of the light values in this area around here. Okay, a lot of people, I say that type of thing because when people see the final results, a lot of times they say, hey, how did you make that kind of white cloud there? Because they think you started off doing something with a darker piece of paper or something of that sort. And then you created the white clouds over the top of a dark piece of paper, but it's really just the retention of your lighter tones within that, piece of white paper. All right, so I'm going to use a little bit of a Memento Summer Sky here, just the re-inker. A lot of times for my first colors, when I'm doing this type of ink coloring, I just go with some re-inker on it. It just makes things go so much faster, okay? And I'm going in here, and I am going over some of my clouds, but I'm going to retain the lightness of some of them, okay? So in the back of those clouds, right around the moon, to make the moon stand out light, I will add a little bit of tone around it because you need that for contrast, okay? And getting a little bit more saturation right here with some additional tone. Okay, so it's not just coloring, but you're kind of saturating your paper a little bit more by going around and giving it multiple coats, okay? But you can see how fast it goes with the use of your re-inker fluid, okay? Now I'm going to go with a little bit of a darker blue, but use your same. In this case, I'm just using a paper towel here. Okay, and it's important to retain some of that lightness that you've retained from the first color, so don't go in with your darker tones and just eradicate all that illumination, okay? A lot of people say, hey, you made it look so easy. You kind of have to loosen up a little bit, from a lot of traditional coloring, okay, where you're trying to color within lines, okay? I make it easy because I don't really color within the lines. I just go, it's all over the place, okay? And the darker I go, now this is the same color that I stamped out all the imagery in. The darker I go, now I'm with a very dark color, you kind of stay on the perimeter a little bit longer, okay? And you get it with a lot of repetition here. And then if you do go near your light area, you just go into that area, but you're doing it more with a very dry applicator, or whatever you're using, a sponge, ink applicating blender tool, or whatever, okay? See this, I'm not going like with a hard streak like this. It's just a light touch like this. You can use a much lighter, you can do a little swirl if you want to. Whatever method works, works for you. You say, hey, nothing works for me, okay? Sometimes people go a little bit too heavy-handed, like if their really dark ink is super juicy, okay? I like to keep my darker tones a little bit more kind of medium dry, okay? And that's really key, because if I go in there, with a sopping wet applicator and I go like this with a super dark color, it's going to give me a big, long, dark streak, right? So you want to hit it with a lot of kind of a drier touch like that. Okay, now I forgot about my Caribbean blue. I really like my Caribbean blue color, so it's a little bit lighter than this color, but let's see. I've got a lot of it off, so I guess it'll be okay. So I'll ink up right here. And we'll go on with a little bit of this Caribbean blue. It's a little bit of a warmer blue. Okay, I think it gives the blue a little bit more, kind of character, by having a little bit of warmth in an otherwise kind of neutral or cool color scheme. Okay, so overall it's still, a cool color scheme in that it's blue, but you can see it has that little bit of richness. And if you go into kind of analogous colors, like blues are next to greens on the color wheel, or reds and oranges, if you use those kind of layered over each other, it creates this thing called a color glow, okay? And that's just the illusion that gives. All right, so there we go. With that, and you can go darker if you want to. I think I'm just going to leave it that. I'm just going to leave this really, pretty simple composition right here. And hopefully it's nice and dramatic though too, but we want it, fairly simple in application. Okay. All right, this is my Mystic Trees left here. And I'm going to just do this in just straight black and have it nice and dramatic against that backdrop. Some other different backgrounds you can do. You can brayer like multicolored, sunset colors in the background or something like that. I think that would be really cool. You can have, something on blue foil if you want to. There's holographic papers, if you want to go for like baby sea turtles going out to sea under, the northern lights or something like that. That might be kind of interesting. I don't know. Baby sea turtles aren't going out, in really cold temperatures. It's usually, warmer temperatures, if not the tropics. But, we're talking about stamping and, creating drama in a scene. So, anything goes. You don't have to, this isn't, documentary, stamping that we're doing in a scenic stamping. So anything goes, and anything for, I don't know, drama sake or something like that. And, I think it's fine. All right, now my paper is fairly wet. It's not wet to the touch or anything like that, but the pulp of the paper is a little bit moist from all the colors that we've just applied onto it. Okay, so this is just going on with dye-based ink here. So allow the ink to really transfer onto your paper, no matter what type of paper you're using, semi-gloss, matte, whatever. If you're going in with wet on wet like that, because we want this to be, a fairly strong impression silhouette against that background, okay? You can even emboss it if you want to. Let's see how that looks like there. That's my first time doing my mystic trees with the cloud background like that. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, now down here, I have some open areas in these trees, but I'm going to make it a little bit stronger for this sake because I have it going over my reflection. I'll show you what this is going to look like right now. Okay, but see that reflection like that? Isn't that kind of cool? So it looks like that little nice body of water like that with that moonlight in the reflected area. All right, and okay, so I'm just going to make this area in here a little bit darker, okay? I like how when I have elements up here reflecting in that lower area, I like to kind of really ground these objects in, with a little bit of shadow down at the base of it. I think it transitions into that lower mirrored section really nicely when you do something like this. Okay, so that little area is a little bit more shaded down here now. And let's take a look and see how that transitions like that. See that right there? It kind of angers it right in that reflected area like so. All right, let's see. Okay, now we have a piece of silver cardstock right here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have to plan this one out a little bit here. This one is going to be using the Seaside Cove. Maybe I should use the larger one, actually, but I think that'll be okay on here. Let's go with that. It's going to be up on the horizon like so. My larger Seaside Cove goes down to about right here. Let's just go with the small one, and I'll have a lot of surface area down here for those turtles to be crawling across. So this, over the top of that, you can see this is really dark right here, even though it's on silver cardstock, okay? Silver is like a mirror, so I'm going to have that moon kind of reflecting down here. And I want that to have some of that shimmer down here as well, okay, in this water. So I can put a little bit of white down here as well. So let's see how that works. This is a kind of a, big experiment for me on this one. A lot of times I just leave this area down here kind of more blank, just doing a direct reflected area. But on this one, we're going to have a little bit of this, or a lot of imagery down here, okay? So let's see. Oops, wrong pad. That's my Brilliance white for my impressions. This is a Brilliance pad for my cotton ball applications, okay? And let's see, let me get my bearings here a little bit. Okay, so the moon is going to be right here, so I'm going to have that moonlight roughly in this area right in here. So I'm just adding a little bit of a kind of a dusting of this white down here, like about like so, okay? I mean, it doesn't look like anything. And then for the shoreline, the sandy shoreline, okay, leading out to, up to, I guess, the water. I want a little bit of shimmer down here too, you know, because, you know, the waves are going to be coming in here and going out to sea. So, you know, some of the sand is going to be wet and reflective. So I'm not going to block out all of the surface right down here with this white pigment ink. This white pigment ink is Brilliance White Pigment Ink. It's a water-based pigment ink that has been designed to be able to dry on non-porous surfaces. Sometimes it doesn't adhere though, so we're going to have to spray seal this probably. Okay, on certain types of surfaces like printable vinyls, it adheres just fine. You won't need to spray seal. Okay, so different surfaces, right? Okay, so this isn't going to be quite as mirrored as a lot of my reflection cards because a lot of this is going on there. I just kind of want the shimmer that this silver is going to provide, hopefully. But I do want a little bit of that reflective area down here, okay? Okay. So that's just roughly what it looks like. It's blobby and it's not perfectly applied, you know, in terms of evenness, evenness in terms of transitions or anything like that, okay? It doesn't really need to be. And I wouldn't say it's hard to do, but, you know, it's just, you don't need to worry about it. From what I've found, once you stamp your impressions over the top of it, it doesn't really matter. So kind of blobby, but see, this is where my baby sea turtles are going to be in the sand, kind of crawling out in that direction, okay? So, okay, that being said, what I'm going to use here, just because it'll, you know, adhere to this much better, and hopefully it kind of seals in some of this white pigment ink as well. I don't know if that's the case, but you know, kind of in my mind, in theory, it's going to act like that a little bit as a sealant, maybe. I don't know. I'll use the StazOn ink, you know, a solvent ink for that purpose. I could go with the Brilliance Black, you know, and it prints on there just fine, but I think I'm going with this StazOn. I've been doing that. I've been using the StazOn a little bit more. Over this last few months, I've had this StazOn pad for years, and a lot of times I didn't use it because I just didn't really feel like cleaning off my stamps, you know, immediately after usage all the time. But I don't know. I've since come to start using it, you know, with my usage of things like foils and whatnot. Okay, so this is going right up here. It's going right on the horizon. Sorry, my head's in the way, but I do need to get my bearings here fairly well. Okay. Here, I need to get my registration correct, I guess. Alright, the StazOn ink. I'm holding this down a lot longer than probably what I should do with StazOn, but, you know, because it dries so quickly. But there we have it, like that. See that? And then we have our area down here. Maybe I need to go, you know, use that pigment ink a little bit higher. But that StazOn should dry pretty fast on that foil, and it's really over the top of you know, the pigment ink, as opposed to it stamping directly on the foil. Okay, because I have a lot of that white already laid down there. Let me take a look at this right here and see what this looks like. Okay, so we see this little reflected area down here in the water. Okay, there's my beach. All right, now, see, even when I just touch this pigment ink, it kind of rubs off. So every now and then you got to kind of go and tap over it. And that's what I'm going to be doing during the making of this video. I'm going to have to go outside and spray seal this right here. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some extra texturing on here. Let's go ahead and use the StazOn ink again. And right along that shoreline right there, I'll add these pebbly textures, okay? This is called Tiny Rock Small. Now I don't want to add too much of it over here because that's where my my baby sea turtles are going to be, but maybe I can add in some light impressions. Sometimes when I tap into that, I'm actually removing some of that white pigment ink in there. So, when this starts getting dry of ink, after multiple impressions. So we'll just go with that right there. And I think what I'm going to do is I think I might add some extra little tone around in this area right here. See, it's kind of light like that. I kind of want to frame off this scene a little bit. This composition. Maybe I should get my baby sea turtles, those stamped first, just so I know where they're going to go and I can work around them. Okay, they look like that. This is the baby sea turtles large. Okay, we can use both of them in here actually if we wanted to. Okay, let's see. When you're stamping on top of foil, you have to make sure that you don't kind of skew it. When you stamp it down, it's easy to kind of move the stamp a little bit. So just make sure that you're pretty decisive when you're setting this down on there. I get a little bit of skew. It happens to me all the time, okay? Sometimes it moves a little bit. I've had it move on me quite a bit. It's usually with larger trees and it doesn't matter too much. It just, I don't know. What I just say is, hey, the tree's in motion a little bit. But if it really kind of moves on you or something like that, then just take some StazOn cleaner, alcohol or something like that, and just wipe it right off. Especially if it stays on, it'll come right off. Okay, so that is the baby sea turtles like that. Now that I can see them, I think let's put a few more rocky pebbles around. Actually, I might not do any more toning, but I'll just use these pebbles right here as kind of like a framing device. In other words, kind of a darker perimeter, all right, darker edges, sides. This kind of creates a little bit of a vignette effect, like so. All right. So it's like a little bit darker here and darker here. It brings the viewer's attention in a little bit more. And one of the things I did on my scene yesterday was I framed it off a little bit more with like some seagrass or something like that on each side. This is kind of curling on me a little bit, so I'm going to kind of bump this down so it's not, I'm not stamping across like this. Kind of raised area where I'm pressing down and it, skews on me. Okay, so this is kind of framing off my edges right here, and I'm just doing this with the StazOn again. I'm going to get the baby sea turtles like that. All right. All right, let's add in a little bit of highlighting in here. And I'm going to be adding it over the some of these waves in here. just so it kind of captures a little bit more of that moonlight. And the area directly under the moon, which I think it's right around in here. I should take a look at it and see exactly where it is before I do this, but I don't know. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered or anything like that. But these are those little kind of white caps, I guess, over the ocean, little spindrift. And these little reflective areas are the specular light that's brighter than white because it's like a little reflective little area in there. Oh, you can see it really well on this filming right here. Sometimes it's so reflective you can't see it. Like if it's real glary like that, you can't see it, but you can see it really good right there. And then what I do is I'll bring some of this down in this water area. It kind of brings a little bit of that kind of that glistening, reflective moonlight, I don't know, kind of magic to the right around our main cast of characters here. And you'll put them in that nice glistening illumination like that. It's like little pixie dust or something like that. See that right down there? But let's get it. Let's see what let's see what it looks like together here. Okay. See that little moonlight like that, and there it is on the shoreline like that. And see this moon is kind of reflecting off of the wet sand like that. You get the tree reflecting down here, but you get a real three-dimensional look to an otherwise, two-dimensional project right here. So I need to spray seal this up here, and I'll spray seal this. And then what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some spray adhesive on the back of these, and I'll adhere both of these parts into the interior of this card, and we'll be almost done. I think I'm going to put my quote stamp on the outside of that, the one that I used yesterday. All right, so let me pause this video. One thing that I forgot to do that will add, kind of some nice textural touches to this is I'll do the same thing that I did on this on here. So I'll add in some pigment ink around my moon and around these clouds and give it a little bit of extra kind of textural variation. It makes these clouds seem really soft, and since I'm adding this in white pigment ink, it makes it kind of glow a little bit more. And it makes these otherwise billowy clouds look even kind of more billowy and soft. And again, you don't want to add a big slathering of it. As a matter of fact, if you add too much, just wipe it off. And I'll edit around my moon and make that moon kind of glow a little bit more. I'm able to do this because I was able to add, I added enough ink around in here, darker ink, so that this white pigment ink shows up. If it's super light in here, white on white's not going to show up. So you need to make it look, a little bit illuminated, or a little bit of contrast against, a little bit of a darker area here, okay? But hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's reading on this video right here where that moon looks really nice and soft and light and billowy. Sometimes, too, if you make the, clouds a little bit too dark, you can, lighten them up a little bit with your pigment ink, kind of in the last couple, I don't know, whatever touches that you add. And then here we go with the pigment ink pen again. Or not the pigment ink pen, sorry. Acrylic paint pen. I haven't been doing as many videos, losing my media vocab. All right, so I'm adding in some of these little highlights on some of these clouds, okay? A little silver lining on some of these clouds right here. And I'm adding it like the clouds above my moon, I'll bottom light the billows, and the clouds underneath the moon, I'll top light them. By the way, so my cloud, when I stamped it up here, I turned the cloud upside down, okay? If the moon's right here, the light is coming from above, and over here, now the clouds are being bottom lit because the moonlight is coming from below. So if you have the unmounted version, just draw an arrow on the back of your rubber, okay, in the direction of the lighting, okay. All right, so we have that little highlighting, up on these clouds down here. If I add some highlights in here, you can't see it because it's like white on white. So you add it where kind of, the white would just start standing out a little bit. And then I add more highlights around the clouds that are closer to my light source. Like I don't have like too many highlights out here. In fact, none, because that's in a darker area. All right, now you see this little area of rock down here. You can add some highlights on that too if you want to. It's like some of these rocks and branches or anything like that could be capturing, reflecting some of that light. Here's these trees right here. We can make those stand out a little bit more by adding a little bit of highlight on the sides of the tree facing the moon. Okay, I won't go too extreme. Let's see that right there. And those trees are kind of, tree trunks are standing out a little bit more in that moonlight. Actually, it looks pretty good. I'll add a little bit more. Like that. Kind of makes the tree look a little bit more three-dimensional that way. All right, let's get this sealed and adhered. All right, we are back. So I put some triple thick sealant over this, okay? I don't know if you can tell, but it makes it look a little bit more like a frosted surface like that. This is the first kind of reflection card where, you can see there's definitely that reflective quality, from top to bottom. But it's a lot less so. It's less, a direct, strong mirroring down here. First of all, because we have the Seaside Cove stamped right there. Okay, the Seaside Cove small. And then I have a lot of texturing on there with some white pigment ink in there. So that blocks off some of the reflective nature of this up here. And then, of course, I've blocked off this area down here with the white, so I don't have this reflecting in this area right here, because I wanted those, the turtles to show up in here. And if this was reflecting right down here, that black would be right in here. We wouldn't be able to see these. But I think it worked out really nicely. I think it looks pretty good, like that. And there's enough of that mirror type of quality to it. Where, I don't know, this kind of formatting, becomes reasonably effective. I know, what do we add here? So this card right here took it didn't take very long. It's a half an hour. And there's a reasonably, decent amount of technique in here. So, okay, so I sprayed this, and, I would normally wait for these things to dry a little bit longer before I went outside and sprayed, and then used some spray adhesive on the back of these to tack it down on the inside of this card right here. But okay, so I'm saying that because I'm going to be a little bit careful here, and I'm going to try to stamp this very delicately just so I'm done with this card. You can see all the different elements right here, so I'm going to lightly just set that down, and hopefully, I don't know, everything's reasonably dry on there. And I'm going to take this word stamp right here. Sometimes people say, hey, what do you put on the outside of these cards? Well, you can put whatever you put on the inside of a card, on a reflection card on the outside. It's like a book cover or something like that, or the title of something, right? You can put happy birthday out here, and, people open it up, and it's much more of a dramatic kind of opening than having something on the outside, and on the inside it's just, okay, well, who's this from? You know, it's more like a chest of, you know, I don't know, surprise, I guess, you know, when they open up a mirror card with that reflection, and things are kind of moving in a reflection card too. Not to say that, you know, reflection cards are better, but it's just, you know, it's just a different thing here. So I'm stamping this in white. Now, these reflection cards, you can have a white exterior as well, and you can do whatever you want on it. Woo! Excuse me. I was just outside, and it's, what time is it right now? It's 11:30 p.m., so it's kind of cold out there. All right, journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. If you send this to someone, they're thinking, what the heck? And they open it up like this, and, you know, see that moon's kind of, that moon reflection is kind of moving like that. And they get that, you know, isn't that kind of a fun little opening like that? Plus, if you have something like that, they won't open it like this, right? So you have some kind of visual clue as to, you know, what configuration, you know, for, you know, the initial viewing like that. And on the back, you put something like, you know, you can put little baby sea turtles down here or something like that. Put one turtle down there. I think that would be kind of cool. You know, and then you write your name, you know, or something like that. You know, as the author of this piece, you know, you can put your own name or something like that. I do have some scenic sentiment stamps too, where it's like scenically inspired by, you know what I mean, or something like that. You know, Stampscape by, right? But what do you think about that? I think that's a pretty cool little format like that. I like my the mystic, you know, trees right there up in that little horizon like that too. It's like this little inlet right here. You can have another one up here too of this one. You know, and you can put the clouds higher too, you know, where this is a body of water going farther out to sea like that, you know, too. So there's all kinds of different things you can do on this one. But this is just a really simple little format right here. And I don't know, I think consider it a quick card as well. And I think a reasonably dramatic one. Who doesn't like little baby sea turtles too? It kind of, it's conducive to a certain mood, I think. So, yeah. All right. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the card. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, you know, and subscribe to the channel. All right. Thanks again, and hope to see you on the next video.